Jaya Gopidhanavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopidhanavallabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yogi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 14, entitled Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening, Text 35. Namo Rudraya Mahate Deva Yograya Meduse Shivaya Nyasta Dandaya Drita Dandaya Manyave Namo Rudraya Mahate Deva Yograya Meduse Shivaya Nyasta Dandaya Drita Dandaya Manyave. Namaha. All obeisances unto Rudraya, unto the angry Lord Shiva. Mahate, unto the great. Devaya, unto the demigod. Ugraya, unto the ferocious. Miduse, unto the fulfiller of all material desires. Shivaya, unto the all-auspicious. Nyesta Dandaya, unto the forgiving. Drita Dandaya, unto the immediate chastiser. Manyave, unto the angry. Translation. Let me offer my obeisances unto the angry Lord Shiva, who is simultaneously the very ferocious great demigod and the fulfiller of material desires. He is all auspicious and forgiving, but his anger can immediately move him to chastise. Purport. Diti prayed for the mercy of Lord Shiva very cleverly. She prayed, the Lord can cause me to cry, but if he likes, he can also stop my crying because he's Ashutosh. He's so great that if he likes, he can immediately destroy my pregnancy. But by his mercy, he can also fulfill my desire that my pregnancy not be spoiled. Because he's all auspicious, it is not difficult for him to excuse me from being punished, although he's now ready to punish me, because I've moved his great anger. He appears like a man, but he's the Lord of all men. Om Ajnanate Marandasya Girandana Salakaya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Shitaitanna Manobestam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam rupa kadamayam Dadati swapadantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The nature of lust is that when there's an attack of lusty desires, one doesn't care about anything else anymore. Even if the activity is really inappropriate. When lust is strong, one just doesn't care about that. And one somehow or other pushes forward to satisfy these lusty desires. But then, after the guilt comes back, after one becomes confronted with strong feelings of guilt, and one becomes very aware that this was all wrong. Whereas, when we were trying to satisfy the lusty desire, we didn't care at all. But after we tried to satisfy the desire, frustration and guilt remains. And this guilt is now what Diti is facing. And in order to diminish that sense of guilt, and knowing that she might get serious reactions, and that particularly the muhurta, the inappropriate muhurta in which she engaged in sexual activity, was the muhurta controlled by Lord Shiva. She was thinking Lord Shiva will be very angry, and and he will send some horrible pregnancy, some horrible progeny towards me. And therefore let me pray now to Lord Shiva, so that this pregnancy may be auspicious. But too late. The damage was done. Not that after we engage in some abominable activity, we go before a deity and say, oh, I didn't mean it like that, and try and whitewash it all. No, now she had to face the reactions of her actions. And of course, we know that she would give birth to Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha, two very great, powerful demons. And that, of course, she was also a puppet in a greater plan. Krishna was using her lusty desires to fulfill his own plan. Krishna was using Kashyapa's personal weakness, because he should have said no. He should have just told her, no, this is not the right moment, we must wait. And but she grabbed his cloth and he went along. So both were responsible, both. And both were facing reactions. And now the inevitable had to happen. Lord Shiva is easily angered and easily pleased. He is known as Asutosh. So she was hoping to now quickly please Lord Shiva, so that she would not be punished in any way. But the laws of nature must take their own course. And why is it so? Because Krishna knows that the desire to engage in sinful activities is deeply rooted within us, and that simply now, under the influence of guilt, she was all repentant, that wasn't enough to really create a change of heart. It would take a bit more, and therefore suffering would be inevitable. There would have to be a reaction to her transgression, so that she would learn the lesson, so that somehow or other she would become more conscious. So action and reaction is something we're going through in this material world, but it's not punishment in the sense that Krishna is a punishing Lord and that Krishna is enjoying to mete out punishment to the sinners. Ah, you sinners, now you will pay for all your nonsense. Not a heavy punishing God. One time we were in Amsterdam about to start a Harinam, and as we always have the point where we gather near the Mint Tower, and there was a street artist who was drawing a picture on the street with chalk, and it was a picture of a punishing God sitting on a cloud and pointing down and looking very serious, old man, and looking heavy, very heavy. So I was like, okay. Anyway, we started the Harinam, and it was okay. We had a good time, and then suddenly, from the first floor, out of a window, a toilet seat flew out of the window. We ducked really quick, and it flew over our head, and we didn't wait to see what was going to come next, you know. I mean, he might throw some more parts of the toilet down the street. So we moved quick. And since that was extreme, you know, and it's really like, I mean, we were a bit shocked, you know. I mean, who would do that? Throw a toilet seat out of the window at the Harinam party? But then there were people, they were dancing and responding very nicely. And then suddenly one man walks up to the Harinam party and he just spits on the ground, in front of us. But just so dramatic, you know what I mean? So I'm going, God, what's going on today, I mean, what's happening, right? Toilet seats and spitting people. What's happening? And we went around, the normal route, and did a circle, and we came back at the place of origin. And then I saw that painting again. And then I was thinking, that's it, that's it. People think we are representing a punishing God. And they don't want to know about this anymore. Centuries. You shall burn. We don't want this anymore. I don't believe in hell anyway. You know what I mean? I just don't believe in hell anyway. Well, but what about hell on this planet? You may not believe in a hell somewhere down there, but hell is right here, around us. Not all the time, but we see some people who are going through hellish experiences in this world. So it's a bit too easy to just write off hell. I don't believe in hell. Yeah, okay. But what about all the miseries in the world? What about that? Yeah, maybe there's something like hell after all. Yes. But then that makes Krishna look like a punishing God. What kind of God is he? Nietzsche, our Friedrich, he has written in the Antichrist. Yes, he has written about this. And he has said, yes, first there was this hot nebula. And when it cooled down, it gradually formed planets. And then on those planets, out of the oceans, life evolved. And then, and God looked at his creation and he knew it was good. And then God was thinking, I have the angels. And the angels, they worship me. And why wouldn't they worship me? I've given them everything. But now I will create a being who will suffer, and only has a little bit of enjoyment. And then in the name of religion, I will make him give up voluntarily that little bit of enjoyment he can have as well. And so God created man, and man was indeed suffering and taking up religion, and in the name of religion, giving up the last little bit of enjoyment. And then God was getting bored, and God arranged for two suns to collide, and that was the end of the universe. And he said to himself, it was a good game. I'll have it performed again. So that is Nietzsche. Nietzsche is raising the point that if there is all that suffering, then what kind of God is this? Look, all the suffering is there and you say there's a God. What kind of God is this who is making the world suffer like this? I mean, he is cruel. Is God a cruel emperor who is just bored stiff in this boring universe? Here's the angels again. Hallelujah. I mean, God, do they have another song? Oh, gosh, these angels again. Is it boring? The boring angels, and God wanted something else. So, yes, well, what is our answer? What is our answer to that kind of reasoning? Is God a punishing God? In the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of the Daksha Yajna. And in the Daksha Yajna, Daksha makes a great offense to Lord Shiva, and then he is getting reactions for that, and he is being punished, right? And then there is a purport which describes the nature of punishing. And it says that there are two types of punishers. One punisher is the conqueror. He comes to you with his boots on. He throws you on the ground, puts his boot on your throat, and says, "You rat." You rat. So this is the punishment of the conqueror. But then there is another type of punishment, the punishment of a father, right? Who feels the pain of the punishment as much as his son, who really doesn't want to punish his son. But what can he do? He knows that if he doesn't punish him, he'll do that nonsense again. So therefore, out of love, he gives him a punishment. But it's painful to him to do it. That is Krishna. It is painful for Krishna. Painful to see how the living beings are bringing all this karma upon themselves. So yeah, okay, bring it upon themselves, but Krishna created the whole law of karma. So how about that? Yeah. It's like, I'll give you an example. Once we were in London, and they asked us if we wanted to see the headquarters of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And we said, why not? So we came there. They had a daily tour, and it started at 4 p.m., and we just reached 1 minute late. So we went to the reception, and the tour had already started. And we said to the reception, the man looked at us like from head to toe. From what's happening here? 2 Hare Krishnas, right? And we said, we're coming for the tour. He said, the tour. All right, the tour. And we were having chaddars. So he said, well, I guess I don't have to ask you if you want to hang your coat, isn't it? Right? And then, he took us into a room, and there people were sitting and watching a little movie, and we also joined in, and we saw how the Jehovah's Witnesses were doing their preaching activities, the early Jehovah's Witnesses on the street and going door to door, and it was interesting. Then they showed us how they would preach and build a community of people, and then they would have a place where they made prefabricated halls in panels, and then these panels, like all prefabricated, everything, like a wall with windows in it and a door in it, etc. And they would bring this prefabricated structure, and that was to become a Kingdom of God hall. And then it was almost ready to put together, and then in the weekend, with the congregation, in one weekend, they put the whole thing together. And in this way, everyone felt that they were part of the Kingdom of God hall. So far, it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. Then we came to then they gave us a tour of the printing press. And then as we're walking there, we see near every door, there is a sign next to the door, mind your hands, beware of the door. There's a sign, beware of the door, you know what I mean? Then a sign, the printing press, be careful, keep distance, watch out, everywhere signs, we started to notice it. There are so many signs here just warning people of this accident and that accident, you know what I mean? And it's like looking at like, watch out, for your head, watch out, a little bit of that is okay, but too much, That was a bit too much, right? But their point is that we want to care for the brothers and the sisters, and we want to make sure they're fully cared for. So, shouldn't God be like that? If He's the God of love, shouldn't He also be very caring? And shouldn't He make sure that there is no suffering? Huh? So why did He create this suffering in the first place? Why? Why couldn't He just, we wanted to enjoy independently from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, you can't really enjoy independently from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You'll get frustrated because you will not get fulfillment. Because fulfillment is only available when we engage in service to the Supreme Lord. But why did He have to arrange some sort of punishment? He could have just created the material world without any suffering or without extra suffering, without pain, where you don't cut your finger and it bleeds or any pain or nothing like that. Just the suffering of emptiness. He could have left us with just the suffering of emptiness. And then it might... So why did He have to put in this pain? Why are there doors? I mean, I was in a car and going to a program, and I was getting out of the car, and it was a pretty low car. And so I sort of pulled myself sort of out of the seat on the doorpost, one of those really sporty low cars, right? So I pulled myself up, and as I am sort of standing outside the car, someone volunteers to serve the Swami and closes the door on my hand. 4 fingers. Now, 4 fingers between the door. Now, I tell you, I don't know what was worse, the pain of the fingers or the mental pain, because I was convinced this is it, I'll wake up after this, right? And 4 fingers gone, So in my mind, this was it, the end of my fingers, right? And that would have been a bit of a disaster, wouldn't it have been? So the mental agony combined with the pain was, and so I blurted out, "Open the door!" And they opened the door, and to my amazement, my fingers were still on there, and I realized that all glories to the designer of the car. They thought of it. They thought of it. They left a space for the fingers. Oh, gosh. It's a science, building a car. And yes, imagine they wouldn't have left that space. I would have no fingers anymore. So I was very fortunate that my fingers were still on it, and we were on TV that night, and I even played harmonium, although it was a little slow. The fingers were somewhat stiff, but a little swollen, but I did it. And, yeah. So, but why does Krishna arrange these things, that you can suffer like this? There's so many ways we can suffer. It's like, I'm telling stories now. When I was a kid, there was one boy who just on purpose poked me in the eye. Well, I became angry to a point beyond control. There was uncontrolled anger, and I lifted him. I picked him up and lifted him off the ground, and I just smashed him against the wall, right? And he screamed very loud, so I ran away. that afternoon I came back in school and he had broken his arm. And I was the demon, right? And then, okay, a whole trip. So got a big lecture from my father, about the insurance and young man. You have to be more responsible. A few days later, I was going to show my brother a flying bicycle trick. There was a plank, some construction, and you could just go over it and then fly through the air. So I was just in full flight when this old lady came out of her garden, and I smashed into her, and she also broke her arm. So, the second lecture of my father was a bit more serious than the first one. And then, anyway, so for the rest of the week, no more fights and no more bicycle tricks. So had to resort to something. So a game of football, and the ball was just really coming like from the right angle, and I just hit it right there, and I just gave it like a full power kick. And it flew right through the main glass window of our house. And that was the third time my father had to go to the insurance. I remember that week. I got punished severely. It was quite something. That was intense. So yes, punishment. Punishment is such a thing. Who likes it? Who likes a punishing God? I also don't like a punishing God. Maybe the people were right for spitting in front of our Harinam party, right? Maybe, Of course, throwing the toilet seat is a bit bizarre, I must say. But anyhow, somehow or other, though, a punishing God, right? Yes. What to do with that? Why didn't he just leave us? Why didn't he just leave us with the emptiness of material life? Passive suffering. Why did he put in active suffering in this material world? That is what I want to know. Well, the answer to that is because if he would have done that, he would have had to wait a long, long time. A long, long time. It's already now a very long, long time before we give up the material world. So if it was only passive suffering, we would say, I'm not going back to Godhead yet. No, it's okay. I'll suffer a little more. It's all right. It's not that bad. I can take it, And the enjoyment is actually quite good. And so we would have stayed in the material world longer. And therefore Krishna knew it's going to take a strong medicine. Some sort of wishy-washy little pill will not do it. I'll have to give them the injection. Right? Oh no. We'll have to give you a little injection. Oh no, not an injection. Yes, please. Are you ready? Some people, they cannot look. Other people, they cannot not look. Right? Some people, they are staring, And it happened. Others, they are looking the other way. And bang, there it is. And then that toxic liquid goes into your arm. And it's just like... There it was. Feeling better already. Yes. So Krishna had to give a strong medicine. And that is why there is this active suffering in this world. Because otherwise we would never come to the point where we'll say, all right, I had enough. And the car rolls over 3 times. And you come out alive. You go like, I'm still alive. And you get ready to sort of you think I should go to temple. I did go to the temple for a long time, actually, as of late. But I think today I'm going to go to the temple. Yes, I think I'm going to pray. And suddenly, spiritual life is rejuvenated. Like that. But this is what Krishna is doing to us, the stubborn living entities. Why is he sending such heavy medicine? Because we are very stubbornly attached to material enjoyment, and we're not going to stop. So, yes, there's also the description of Maya. And that Maya is also known as Durga Devi. Durga Devi is a deity seated on a tiger, and she holds, weapons in 10 arms. That means she controls the 10 directions. There are the 4 main directions, the directions in between, and then the direction upwards and the direction downwards, right? The zenith and the nadir, as that is called. And these are the 10 directions, and Durga has covered the 10 directions. In one of her arms, she holds a trident. And that trident is the trident of suffering, of adhyatmika klesh, adhibautika klesh, and adhidaivika klesh, or suffering from our own body and mind, suffering from other living entities, suffering from the devatas, from natural circumstances. 3 types of suffering. So she holds this trident. Then Maya has 2 energies. One praksepatmika shakti, the other one avaranatmika shakti. Prapsekatmika shakti is the throwing potency. And she knows your secret desires. And she bounces it under your nose. The opportunity of your life. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh, look at this. Oh. And when you take it, just then, oh, so sweet, so sweet, so sweet. With that trident, she just jabs you. Painful. Oh. Well, you learn your lesson. Then next time Maya comes, and again, to-tum, yeah. To-tum. You go away with your with your temptation. I'm not interested in temptation any longer. Are you sure? It does look good. It looks actually really, really good. And well, the pain, it was intense. It was. But it was only very short. So I think I can tolerate it. And we take the pain. And we're enjoying so much. And then we develop a philosophy. If you actually don't suffer, how can you really enjoy? Right? It's after the suffering is over and then you enjoy that you really enjoy. Yes. This is called the covering potency of Maya. Now we have accepted suffering as part of life. It's okay. It's all right. It's fine. It's like, I can live with it. Yeah. With the suffering. Because I'm enjoying so much this golden opportunity. So good. Avaranatmika Shakti, the covering potency. And if you don't suffer, how can you really enjoy? Yes. So, this is the foolish living being, so stubbornly attached to material life that even after being stabbed by a trident, still say, no, but it's not so bad. I'm enjoying. Yeah, I am enjoying. Like that. Fool's paradise. This world is known as fool's paradise. a pandemonium, a place not meant for enjoyment. In the Greek mythology, we have when Pandora, right, got the nectar of the demigods by some arrangements. Yes, then the Zeus became upset and said, "What is this?" You know what I mean? And arranged that he would get some punishment because this wasn't meant for the humans. So he gave him a box. Oh, now I get this gift, this box. And he opened the box, and it's known as Pandora's box. And all the miseries came out of Pandora's box into this world. And here we live with all these unlimited miseries and still determined to enjoy. And Prabhupada said, but there is sand in the sweet rice. There is sand in the sweet, but it's sweet. But there's sand. Crunch, crunch, crunch. But it's very sweet. Yeah, but, at one point you go, why are you eating sand? Right? It's too much. So this is what is happening. And Diti is here to face a punishment, the inevitable, because of her stubborn attachment to material enjoyment. And now it's too late. If she doesn't get this punishment, she'll never be corrected of this mentality. And therefore, she wanted a pregnancy, and she engaged in illicit sex, and at the wrong time. And the result, now, you will have 2 little demons. And before the birth of Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha, there were some signs. One day, it started to rain, but it was blood and pus. And then even bones started to rain from the sky. So there were some omens, some signs of what was to come. Yes. So in this way, the reaction was going to fructify. So now we can appreciate, hopefully after this lecture, that the reactions that we have to face are actually for our benefit and are sent to us by the loving Supreme Lord, who just cannot wait forever for us to come to our senses. He has to give us a little bit of a push so that we desire to return back to the spiritual world, because that's the only place where we can be happy. So in the interest of our happiness, all right, here's a little pain for you. I can't take it no more. It's just too much, all this suffering. And it's like, I'm losing my faith. I'm losing my faith. No, we should not lose our faith because of all this suffering. We should know that how stubborn we are, stubbornly determined to stay here in this material world until Krishna gives us a kick under the backside and said, get out of here. And then maybe finally we'll get serious. So maybe after having these 2 children, after having to bring up Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha, maybe Diti will get the point. No more illicit sex. No, thank you. No, I'm not interested. No, thank you. So any questions, any comments? Mm-hmm. That sometimes Mahavan thinks that Krishna gives too much responsibility to us, and that we can bring too much suffering upon ourselves. Yeah, but he has to. He has to. It's inevitable. What can he do? He has to give us freedom. Freedom of choice. Because if he forces us, if he limits us, then, and we have no freedom, then our surrender to him will be forced. And then it's not love. Love has to be voluntarily. So this is inevitable, that he has to give us our freedom, and that we can misuse it. Yeah, it's just like, so he cannot lock us in a safe place, right? No, if you want your freedom, downtown, downtown, yeah. If you want your freedom, you can go downtown. No problem. And you can go down while you're in town. Yeah. That's our freedom. And that's the downside of freedom. But the upside of freedom is that we can turn to Krishna on our own and voluntarily give all that we have, all our energy, pranarata diyavacha, all our energy, all our possessions, all our intelligence, all our words, that we can give it all in the service of the Lord, because we want to. That's why we have to have that freedom. Yes, sir.
What if we decide to give up this free will? I mean, we recognize or admit to a certain extent that our choices are not really based on selfless motivation, let's say. Do you think this is the right approach to develop the relationship?
Yeah, at one point, it is said material life is expressed in in 5 syllables known as pavarga, and these are pa, from parisram, hard work, hard labor; fa, where you even get foam on the mouth, so hard you work. And then we get ba, from bhyartata, from frustration. We get bha, from fear, and we get ma. These are 5 syllables which are all produced with the lips. They are known as the labials, produced with lips. And they express what material life is like. So frustration is always there. One has to come to a point of being a failure. Yeah. Everyone, like everyone's trying to be a success, right? And show, hey, I'm a success. But one has to come to the point, right, where we actually say, I failed. I didn't make it. I tried like anything to enjoy in this material world, and it didn't work. I have failed. At that point, we can turn to Krishna and say, okay, Krishna, please take my independence. It's yours. I'm your servant, and I'll do whatever you desire. Yes, and your representative. Yes, I'll accept the guru and I'll do what he says, and I'll happily do it, because I know very, very well, if I do it my way, it's not going to work. I've tried it. I tried it like anything, and it didn't work. I need something better now. I'm ready to rely on the superior intelligence of the Supreme Lord and the pure devotee. I bow down. But the karmi will say, I never bow down. Never. I was doing door to door with books, and I come into this house, and the door opens, and there's a lady with red hair, and she sees me, and she says, out, 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 out. So I was thinking, she can't treat me like that, like because she doesn't know what I came for. Maybe I come to bring her a check, you know what I mean? That she, so maybe it's not to me. Maybe there's a dog behind me that also came in the garden. So I looked over my shoulder to see if there was something behind me. And she saw it. No, you, out, out, out. I said, just cool it, lady, right? Just cool it. I'm leaving. So, okay, I purposely, slowly walked out of her garden. Then just a little to the side, there was a man sitting and he was polishing this huge American car. You have these American cars which have a statue on the bonnet. Yeah? It had a statue on it, and he was polishing it. And as soon as he saw me, he said, I'll never bow down. You understand? I'll never bow down. And I said, but he was sitting on his knees polishing his car. So I said, you're already bowing down to your car. And I left the demons, right? I was thinking that must be that lady's husband, I would bet. I mean, it's quite sure. Anyway, I left them like there and then, you know what I mean? You're already bowing down. So they don't want to bow down. But we want to bow down because we've realized it doesn't work. Sense gratification, it doesn't work. It doesn't. Material enjoyment. See, it's like this. It's a gamble, right? You either get enjoyment or you get suffering. Right? Now, you get enjoyment. Right? Hey, enjoyment, yo, enjoyment. Now, enjoyment plus temporary. So look at the mathematics. Enjoyment plus temporary equals what? Huh? Suffering, yes. That's the answer because when it's finished, you suffer. Right? I had $1 million. $1 million or euros. Million I had. Hey, million. Plus temporary is suffering. I got, oh, you son of a gun, you had the most beautiful girl in the world. I got the most beautiful girl in the world. And she will tell you, you know what I mean? Okay, bring me this, bring me that, And if you don't bring me, he's ready to bring me. Yeah. That's dangerous. Yes. So, the point is, when we have thoroughly understood that there is no happiness in the material world, then we can do it. Then we can really give up our independence. Otherwise, if we're not thoroughly convinced, then we come to a temple, we're a bit fried with the material energy. So we surrender to Krishna, but we're still hiding some stuff here, some material desires and this, that. And then what you get is the balance. So much for Krishna, so much for me. And then you have to struggle with that. There's so much for Krishna and so much for me. So forget material life. Bye-bye, material life. Everything for Krishna. Then it becomes very blissful. That's the way to go. Oui, monsieur.
My question is related to
Austerities.
austerities. We undergo many austerities, so it's related also to suffering. But we see that in the Vedic scriptures there is so many rishi, maharshi, brahmashi. They undergo austerities, and as soon as for example, Indra is sending one apsara, they fall into the trap and they forget their austerities. So what is the
the purpose of those austerities is to develop detachment. But unfortunately, there's two types of detachment. And one is known as Falgu Vairagya, and the other one is Yukta Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya is about the Falguna. The word comes from the Falguna river. I once went there. It's near Gaya, the place where Lord Chaitanya went and got initiation. So I went there. And I wanted to take baths in the Falguna river, but there was no water in the river. I say, oh, it's a dry river. And the people said, yes, it's an underground river. So you dig and you get water. So I dug, and 30 centimeters water was there. So Falgu Vairagya means you just push the material desires underground. And that is why these sages fall down in the face of temptation. But Haridas Thakur, Maya came personified. And it was a full moon. And she walked on the plain. And there was a breeze. And the breeze lifted her cloth, the wind, just so that he got a good view of her bodily features and so on. The wind also carried the smell of her body to his nose. All these things were there. And Haridas Thakur simply told her to chant. And she came to him and said, I want to enjoy with you. But Haridas said, I have to first finish my rounds. Right? And so on and so on. So first the prostitute, then Maya, and they surrendered. They also became devotees. So in bhakti, we are not performing separate austerities. Like now is the Purushottam Adhika Mas, and a lot of people, they feel like, oh yes, I'm going to fast this month, no sweets, and Kartik also, and I'm going to do all these austerities. I'll drink only milk or whatever, I know someone who said, I will not wear a shirt. Yes. And it was in Vrindavan, cold, Kartik, cold at night, freezing. Quite cold. 5, 6 degrees, no shirt, nothing. No benefit. You're wasting your time. No need for all this austerity. Prabhupada is very interesting because Prabhupada said, I don't like austerity. So Prabhupada was never the one who was into performing all kinds of austerities for the sake of austerity. Prabhupada was into service. And for service, he would take any austerity. So that is Vaishnava, that is bhakti. For service, we just do the service. And we take the austerities that come into the service. And whatever happens in the course of service, yes, we'll do it. But separate austerities, that's not actually the bhakti approach. There's no benefit. Even in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami mentions too much austerity makes the heart hard. So there's no benefit in being so austere. I'm a brahmachari. The water is too warm. Bring ice. Yes. I take my morning bath with ice. Rub the ice over my body. Yes. No, that's not what it's about, right? It's about service. It's about service. And in the course of that, whatever austerity comes, that we will take. That's Yukta Vairagya. Anyone else? Finito. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.